Jai Hind viewers, welcome back to the Global Strategic and Defense News. Today on Achievers Articulate, we are going to have a fantastic discussion on a book written by Dr. Monish Bhalla. The name of the book is Narco Jihad. Dr. Bhalla is a former officer of the Narcotics Control Bureau of India. He has written extensively on taxation, and incidentally, this is his second book on drugs. So we would be talking to Dr. Bhalla on his fantastic journey on what his book, talks about and various other issues. Dr. Manish Bhalla, a very warm welcome to the Global Strategy and Defense News, and really an honor that you spared a valuable time to come on our channel.
Jai Hind.
Sir, my first question to you is that can you please tell us about your fantastic life journey from childhood to being such an accomplished author, having written on extensively on taxation and now the drug series that you have started, if I may use the word the drug series, since this is your second book on drugs.
Thanks for calling me here, Kanal Sir. And it's really a privilege and honor to be with the Global Strategic Defense News. I was looking forward for this when we last discussed about it a few weeks back. Okay. As regards the writing and the books as concerned, I think it goes in the genes. My dad was a very big writer, accomplished author and a poet, and I have seen books throughout my life, right from my childhood. I have seen more books in my house than people have clothes and shoes and other articles. So our house was full of books. So I've in fact grown in books. So I think that is one reason that I already had that passion of reading and then trying to write something. Way back in 2003. I wrote my first book. It was published. I started in 2002. That was on a new tax that had come, which was known as service tax. So I had written that was the first book on that by any officer at that time. And then the journey started. In fact, in 2015, I wrote a book on goods and service tax, that is GST. And that was 2 years before the GST was implemented, and it was known as GST, the game changer. So I have had always that knack of trying to write a book on a subject which is very current. Okay, and having worked in the NCB, the Narcotics Control Bureau, the Customs, the GST department or the taxation department, indirect taxes, having a background of that, I always felt that I should contribute to this subject because it was very close to my heart. And I wrote a book called India Drugged it was just around the COVID period. Okay. And then I was writing a sequel of this book. In fact, you'll be happy to know that OTT channel platform had signed a contract with me to make a series on that, on my earlier book. So they wanted to make a documentary and a series on that. And I was writing a sequel of this book. And suddenly, on 22nd of April 2025, I had a buzz on my phone, and I was writing that book. And suddenly, a disturbing message came to me, and there was a Pahalgam attack. And it was really very disturbing. I was very disturbed on that day. When I saw the news, I saw about what has happened in Pahalgam. And there is where I stopped writing the book sequel. I put my pen down and kept on thinking, okay, why this happened in our country? How suddenly this has happened? And what is the reason behind it? And then I started connecting the dots. And on the same night, I started a new book called Narco Jihad, When Drugs Fund Terror. And it starts with that Pahalgam attack chapter. And it links the drug trafficking, our neighbor who is not very happy with us, Pakistan, and the drugs which are coming from that zone, that region, and how it is flooding the country, how these drugs are used, and the funds of this drug trafficking is used for again the terror models. So this entire book is based on that. And I just told you the triggering point was on 22nd of April 2025, the Pahalgam attack.
Well, sir, I totally agree with you that the Pelgam terror attack was a very disastrous attack, and the way it was planned and carried out, it shook the conscience of every global citizen, not only Indian citizen, but global citizen. So, till few decades back, we always had heard of two zones from where the drugs would flow to the world and to India, of course. One was the Golden Crescent, comprising the mountainous regions of Iran, Pakistan, and Afghanistan, and the other was the Golden Triangle, regions of Myanmar, Thailand, Cambodia, Laos. But some decades back onwards, China's Yunnan province also started becoming one of the drug hubs. So presently, if I'm correct, we have three big drug hubs in the world. Now, sir, how are these drugs affecting India? What is the percolation rate in India if we talk about figures or percentages? And how severe is this threat that our nation is facing?
Kanu Suri Sahab, you have uh, pinpointed the issue. In fact, what you say about the so-called Golden Triangle and a Golden Crescent, and now China's role, I have written on this in the book, and in fact, I don't call it golden anymore. I call it a death crescent and a death triangle. There's nothing golden about it. Okay, so we are sandwiched. In fact, we are. I'll say in your language, I'll say it. We are in the on the crosshair of the triangular crescent. Okay, we are on the crosshair, and just imagine world's biggest production zones of drugs, the Pakistan, Iran, and that zone, the crescent, and the earlier Burma or Myanmar and Laos and this side, the triangle. We are sandwiched between this. We are sandwiched between this and India being world's largest population. We are the largest population in the world, especially the youngsters. So we are sandwiched between these two big drug production countries, and definitely we are vulnerable. We are the target. We are the vulnerable target. Initially, if few decades back, let's go few decades back, India was more of a transit point. By transit point, I mean that the drugs used to come from these zones, both the zones, and then camouflage them, repack them, and transport to European and other countries. And India was a transit point. This is what, because I have been in the department, so I know very well. So consumption was much less. A few percentage might be a consumption. Rest was transit. Today, the game has changed. Today, we are not only the transit point, we are also a consumption hub. So that is what worries me. And that is what I have written about in the book Narco Jihad, because especially from the crescent part, what is happening. If you see what is happening in last couple of years, the amount of drugs which are coming from there and how it is linked to the terror funding, and that is the whole story in the book. And it's not a story; it's a fact. It's based on evidences, based on reports, based on a lot of studies, and that's the fact. And that's what worries me. And my job was to see that this awareness is created at every level. So,
Uh, Sir, while researching, I came across certain facts, and you can correct me since you're expert in this field, that in the year 2007, India had 2 million drug consumers, which increased 5 times to 10 million in 2022. What are the rough figures? We are in the end of 2025 is one part of my question. And secondly, sir, what is the role of Pakistani army or ISI in this sending of drugs to India? Because of late, in the last few years, especially, we have heard drones being used to transport drugs to Punjab, to Gujarat, to Jammu and Kashmir. And like you rightly said, finally, the aim of all this drug business is to, you know, fund the terrorist. because we know Pakistan is on a weak financial wicket economically, but because of the drug trade, they are able to sustain terrorism in Jammu and Kashmir. What are your views on these questions?
I have very clear views on this. Uh, your first question about the addiction and how much penetrated the addiction is today, what are the actual figures? We'll discuss it later. But the second question about the role of Pakistan and how the drugs are coming here and how it is funded. So, a recent case was there, which was in media everywhere, the Adani Mudra drug case. Everybody knows about it. It was one of the biggest seizures in the recent history. A 3,000 kg consignment of heroin came uh, in a talc powder mixed with talc powder in the containers, and that the case was booked. It was a 21,000 crore international price drugs. That single consignment. Now, what happened? The case was booked by the DRI, the Director of Revenue Intelligence, but it was taken up by NIA. NIA took the investigation in their hand. The moment NIA took the investigation, definitely there was another angle to the whole episode. That is why NIA came into picture. NIA comes into picture only when there is a national security threat. Okay. So when NIA started investigating in that particular case, layer by layer, things started opening up. And they found that earlier also, maybe some consignments were slipped from here and from other ports also. So why I'm saying this, see, though it is of a national security threat, but now it is on record. The NIA report is before the Supreme Court. Okay. So there were a number of consignments. Prior to this consignment, the same lobby of people had smuggled in. And who were the people behind it? There were Iranis arrested, there were Afghanis arrested, there were Khalistanis arrested. Okay. So there was a whole nexus, and definitely Pakistan and the Dubai role was very big. Okay. So during this investigation, they found out that the money from the drugs through Hawala was going back to Pakistan and in the hands of Lashkar-e-Toiba. And that is why I said I started connecting the dots. And NIA, during the course of the hearing in the Supreme Court, the filed an affidavit saying that this drugs and the funds from these drugs are linked to the TRF. The TRF is the one which had a Pahalgam attack. The role of Pahalgam attack was TRF. It is, I think, offshoot of Lashkar-e-Toiba. Okay. So that is on record. And that is why my book becomes very important, because I was doing the same thing. I was trying to find out the same thing. And same connecting, the dots started connecting. Okay. So the fact that Pakistan and the ISI's role is there, it's a fact. And if you go back to the history, let's go back to the history. Everybody, right from Musharraf to Ziaul Haq to Nawaz Sharif to the recent defense minister, everybody has confessed this on record, not off record, on record. So they have confessed that they have been funding this and they are trying. In fact, there is a report where the Prime Minister of Pakistan said that two of their army generals came to them with a formula saying that we are short of funds, so let us start smuggling the heroin from here, and the money can be used for our machinery. That's on fact. That's on report. There's a report on that. So it's a very serious affair. And that is why I use the word Narco Jihad. For me, Narco Jihad and narco terrorism are synonyms as far as Pakistan is concerned. They are same words. Now, the second part of your question about how deep the addiction has gone in the country. What are the figures? They are very disturbing. The last survey, what I remember, was in 2018, where they said that the children below the age of 17 using a substance, having a substance abuse. The word is substance abuse. It covers a lot of things. It also covers alcohol. Okay. So that was 1.48 crore, less than 17. I'm not talking about more above 17. I'm not talking about the elder people or the younger generation. I'm talking about the kids. So the figures are very disturbing. That was way back in 2018. If pro rata you just calculate it, it will be almost 2.5, 3 crores today. So the figures are very disturbing. Sir.
Well, sir, totally I agree with you. It's a very disturbing figure, and the way you have explained, there's a clear nexus between narcotics, terrorism, and Pakistan. It's a clear established fact. Sir, your book highlights this very important issue where we as a nation are not able to control it despite having the finest investigation agencies, despite having so many statutory organizations like the Narcotics Control Bureau, the DRI, the ED. Where are we lacking that this penetration is increasing year on year?
Uh, I have given a solution also in the book. Okay, where are we lacking? It's not that the intent is not there. I know the departments in and out. The officers work day in, day out. The investigative agencies do their best. There is no doubt there. Okay, there might be a mole here and there. That's fine. Otherwise, overall, the agencies are working. But what is lacking? For me, if you ask me, I'll give you 3 points. The first, see, it has to be treated not as a drug problem. It has to be treated as a national war. The moment we change our focus from a drug problem to a national security threat, our position of working will change, our perspectives will change. And exactly the same thing, I think, Honorable Prime Minister in G20 summit has recently said. The first time I heard him talking about narco terrorism, the priority he has given to it, and I'm so blessed that our Prime Minister is thinking about the same thing, and I think I've been working on the same thing. So I feel so connected to this. The second issue is the law itself, the NDPS law itself. I have given a solution in the book. Colonel Sahab, I'll explain you in 1 minute. See, the background of law, I'll tell you. The NDPS law, almost 4 decades old, 40 years old. Okay. So 40 years, if you go back 40 years, the position was different. Today, the position is different. Okay. First of all, the scenes have changed. Whole scenario has changed. Secondly, the law gives punishment based on the kind of drug and the quantum of drug. So there is in simple words, there is a small quantity, there is a medium quantity, and there is a commercial quantity. So a small quantity might be having the sentence will be a shorter one. And if you go to the commercial quantity, the sentence will be a bigger one. Okay, so this is how it. But if somebody brings maybe half a kg of a particular drug or a kg of a drug, it is a commercial quantity. But what happens to a person who brings 3 tons? So for a person who is bringing 1 kg of drugs and a person who is smuggling 3 tons, the sentence is same. And there is where the difference is. So I call it that we will have to have another category called the terror grade, which somebody is threatening our country. It's a national fabric which they are trying to disturb by bringing so many drugs, not 1 kg, not 2 kgs, 3,000 kgs, one consignment. Okay. And why should you have the same set of principle for him? What you have for the other drug traffickers. Okay. So the principles should change, the law should change, and we should have a capital punishment for such people. This is what I recommended. And it is not that I'm the only person who's recommending it. There are dozens of countries who are already doing it. And India itself has got the capital punishment in NDPS Act in Section 31. But then there is a catch there. The catch is that if somebody is repeatedly caught in a commercial quantity, only then the capital punishment is there. So a person who is bringing 1 kg and again is caught again by 1 kg, so with 2 kgs he gets a capital punishment, but a person who brings 3000 kgs does not have a capital punishment. So there is where the law has to change. So this is what I have recommended in the book, that the law has to be amended, make a terror grade, and have a super fast trials, finish the trial in 90 days, and go for a capital punishment. This is what other countries are doing. So we should not be having only a symbolic law. Effective. This is my recommendation. I may sound harsh, but that's the fact.
Sir, I totally agree with you. These steps, whether someone terms them harsh or whatever, they have to be taken because if our nation has to be protected by this malaise, which is increasing with each passing day, I would say, such steps are the need of the hour. And the more we are delaying it, the more our nation is getting into a quagmire. So, my last question to you is that, you know, on 17 March this year, General Upendra Dwivedi, Chief of Army Staff of the Indian Army, stated that two-front war on India is no longer a possibility, it's a reality, unquote. With all the timelines in public domain, it is anticipated that anytime after 2030, China and Pakistan will launch a two-front war on India. Now, sir, what you just mentioned about combating terrorism in a war mode, in a national war mode, I totally agree with you. Now, sir, how do you foresee this drug problem in the next 5 years? Because the nation is now staring at a two-front war. So, how serious is this drug problem going to compound the problems that we are facing, not only today, but in the next 5 years?
So, as you rightly said, 2030, what we are thinking might be a serious problem for the country, especially if you don't take care of this particular problem. Because remember, when IMF gave loan to Pakistan, a $1 billion loan, a lot of news was there and a lot of resistance was there. Just imagine the same Pakistan making 30 billion out of drugs trafficking, nobody says anything. The same. Okay. And where the money goes? A lot of money goes in the pocket of those people who are so-called the army there. That's a fact. If you see their big mansions in London and New York, army officer, you have been an army officer. How many villas you have got in London and New York? How many villas? And see those Pakistani journals, what properties they hold there. Okay. So money goes in their pocket. Money goes in the hands of terrorist organizations. It is distributed. So it has to be crushed. It has to be crushed. And I say it has to be done what the armed forces do. It is no more a drug problem. It's a national security threat. The moment we start changing our perspectives, I'm sure Government of India will do a miracle on this and everything will start, melting down and it will stop. So it has to, because this money, this is the money which goes to Wala. This is the money which goes to crypto. This is the money which goes in the hands of terrorists. This is the money which is in the cell. This is the money. This is the same money which is rooting. Otherwise, where will you get money? Pakistan, economically, you know what has happened to it. From where the money is coming. So this is one of the root which has to be, scrubbed.
Well, sir, the interview was very interesting. It was very informative, and I'm sure the viewers would have learnt a lot. I think it was the finest interviews that GSN has conducted till date. Viewers, as
So,
always, I would request you to like the show, to forward it as much as you can, to subscribe to the channel if you haven't so far, and most important, give your comments in the comment section because your comments help us decide the future course of action at GSDN. Dr. Monish Bhalla, sir, a very heartfelt gratitude and thanks to you for having spared your immense valuable time and having given such candid views, which really were an eye opener. I wish your book the very best. And viewers, one more thing. I'll be giving the Amazon link of Dr. Bhalla's book in the description in the below the video. Do purchase this book. I think this book is a must read for every Indian citizen to understand the immense problem we are in and we are going to face if corrective actions as outlined by Dr. Monish Bhalla are not taken. It is going to be a very tough time ahead for us as a nation. Thank you, Dr. Manish Bhalla, sir, once again for having come on GSDN.
Thanks for calling me here, Kanu Saab. And it was a pleasure talking to you. And hope to see you soon sometime. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Jai Hind, sir.
Jai Hind.